I am here with the incredible Emily West, who is probably one of the greatest singers I think I've ever worked with in my entire life. And I can tell stories about that for sure. But Emily is, she's been in Nashville for, how many years have you been here now?
I've been here for about 20 years. 20 years, a long time. I'm like a veteran.
You are a veteran.
Yeah, I'm a veteran.
You've seen
With
a lot
my
of
imaginary cigarette. I'm a veteran. You're very kind to have me on your podcast. I'm
thankful that you're here. This is amazing.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is awesome. You guys, I'm in his house, and it's just beautifully decorated, and not in a. It's just very clean. The lines are clean. Smells great. You got some nice
little essential oils.
Oils and mushroom coffee.
Yeah. So yeah, Emily, I was going to just say we obviously have made music together. We play together, but I remember when I first came to town, I remember hearing your track "Blue Sky," and holy crap, that song! Oh, you wrote that, right?
I did. I wrote that with Gary Burr, incredible songwriter. I was very intimidated by Gary Burr when I was a little girl. We would write songs together, and he was an incredible teacher. But he got me listening to Carla Bonoff, who is basically Linda Ronstadt cut a lot of her music, and Linda Ronstadt kind of wanted to sound like Carla Bonoff. So I always like to go into what my heroes worshipped. You know, do you ever do that?
Oh, of course.
And so he kind of got me on. He was an incredible teacher as far as like what music to listen to. So we listened to a Carla Bonoff song, and I came in with this melody. And thank you for saying that. It's one of my favorite songs too.
I did some research on it after I found out about it, and I remembered reading something about it. Did it have to do with your parents?
Yeah.
Kind of triggered that?
Yeah, and a breakup of my own too. I think I projected a lot of my pain with my parents' own pain, which by the way, they got remarried.
Oh wow.
And now they're separated again.
Oh wow.
So we've just artistic family, creative. But no, it was a sad time, but also enlightening as well. And
well, it's interesting that. I mean, that song is, Jesus, it's beautiful. I listened to it back in the day when it came out. It was one of those things where I would sit at the computer and I would be working when I was first moved to town, and I was doing these meaningless jobs and web designing just to pay the bills. And man, I had that thing on repeat constantly. And and it's the thing about you that's so interesting that I really want to get into is the delivery of an emotion that I really wanted to ask you about, because you are a master at that. And I remember the first time I saw you live was at Third and Lindsley, and I don't remember the song, but it was I came in late because I was doing the late set, and you did an encore. What's the encore that you did? You did it again when we did the Whitney Houston show.
Was it Why Do Lovers Leave?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Holy
all right.
crap.
That was a journal entry at one point. Yeah. That's the Emily West Greatest Hits, which I don't even know is out online. I don't know if you can.
I've consumed everything that you have out, but I don't remember hearing that anywhere.
Oh,
so
thank you.
You need to put that out for sure.
I should. Thank you for reminding me. It's I used to live in Bellevue.
Oh, yeah?
I used to live in Bellevue, so coming here was like going through a picture keeper.
I think you and I are similar in a way the way we look at music, from what I'm gathering currently, where it is a snapshot of an emotion, very much so. And it's interesting living in this town because, and I'm sure you've run the gamut. You had record deals. You were doing a country thing, and you had success with that. But it's interesting the way that you're talking about writing and the way that you've brought up these emotional moments that have happened that created these songs. Totally opposite of the way Nashville works.
Yeah.
Where you go into a room at 10 o'clock and you try to chase something.
Right.
Did you ever? How do you feel about that when you first came? Did you feel like you couldn't? Is that a fitting in situation, or did you feel like you were it was tough for you to find writers that you enjoyed writing with?
Well, I came here when I was 18 years old, and I came here under the wing of a woman who really believed in me, who taught me a lot, but also I had to kind of break away from that because it started to get a little stage mom-ish, and I needed to run wild and free to figure out what I was as a human and an artist. So with that, I just kind of like followed the leader as far as like hype goes, and kind of did that for a while. But then I realized I feel like I'm a character when I'm co-writing, or like I'm trying to get that hit, you know. And I had to learn it as I went along. But it was a tough thing for me, because naturally I think I'm pretty authentic, but I look for face, crunches and brow crunches. And if I throw something out there and then that person doesn't isn't a susceptible person to write that with, I instantly change and I become this chameleon, which has been kind of weird for me to go through that, because I was dyslexic when I was a child and I didn't really know how to read. So I would really study faces and vibes to see if I could read you that way. And so that can kind of create a little bit of a monster, because then you don't really know who you are. You're trying to figure out what everyone else wants, which has been kind of the reason why we go to therapy these days.
Hey, I'm with you. I just started myself, and it's fabulous.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah,
and
everybody should do that.
Everyone should do that, because you wake up and you're like, well, who am I today? But co-writing was a hard thing, and I definitely want to just say, if you're moving to Nashville and you it's not a normal thing to co-write. It's a very codependent thing to do. If you have an idea and then you're saying, hey, does this work? And then you're depending on someone that has had some success to be your approval person. I kind of think that is a little bit sad, because you should be able to want to say what you want to say. And those songs that are your favorite were the songs that I didn't ask for permission to write. They just fell out of the sky. And just so happened Gary Burr was that person that was a great teacher that listen to my pain with my mom and dad. And, really, truly, those are the great writers you want to write with, are the people that listen to you instead of tell you what is a hit. And I think that really should be talked about on Music Row, because everyone's just following the leader. And, music is all the same. So I don't care anymore. I don't care if anyone listens to this and gets mad at me. You can call me up and text me. You can stop following me on Instagram. But there's a lot of truth that needs to be said with these young kids moving to town, Feel your feelings and tell the truth, and try to sing your heart out.
And you do that, and it comes across absolutely. It's interesting that we were talking about. I was talking about this the other day with a session musician who was kind of on a different side of where you're from. He's been in Nashville for a while, and he was. We're talking about the current music, and we were saying it's so interesting how. It's like you line up all the current music, and then as soon as one of those things is somewhat emotional, you immediately gravitate to it, and because you're desperate for it. Like you're trying to fill that up,
Absolutely desperate. I love that you pay attention to that too, by the way. Like, that's one of my favorite things that anybody that's willing to listen to the emotion part of it, or the space between the words, those are my favorite people to hang out with, because not everything can be great, because it's just, you feel it more when it's not trying to be great, I guess.
Well, it's interesting that you're saying that you were dyslexic and that you read faces, and that you would get people's reactions, because the thing that is most incredible watching you sing live, which is probably one of the reasons why so many people feel that emotion out of you, is because it's the delivery. Obviously, you have to feel it, and it has to matter to you. But the delivery of your presence and your stage presence, and the delivery of your eyebrows and your face and stuff like that, like, it comes across. I was sitting in the back of the room watching you, sing on that gig we did, and you were doing the encore, and I was in the very back, and I could feel it from the back of the room. And it's everything that you're doing. It's your motions. Did you ever, obviously, as a singer, you probably stood in front of a mirror and did that whole process. Is that all natural to you, or something that you just kind of always had? Or
I have a lot of video footage where I am not good. So thank you for saying that. It took a lot of practice. You can't just become, Delilah, that beautiful voice, like, oh, Delilah, when you listen to that voice, and she's just very soothing to listen to.
Like, I don't trips to her, listening to her voice.
Yeah. But I'm like, man, how did Delilah become so great to listen to, and how did Mr. Rogers understand what quietness does to the mind of a child? And it's like a hit and miss thing, and it's watching myself back on tape before selfies, were even invented. You had to figure out what works for you, and I'm still figuring out what works for me, like when to stop talking. The Whiskey Wolves of the West, which you've played incredible saxophone on, which will be coming out somewhat soon. But like they've taught me a lot just about monologue and then space, and then just do 3 songs, don't talk until the 3rd song, and then talk. Because when I talk, I say so much, or I don't say anything, and it can ruin the emotion of the whole show. So someone said, it was Jeff Barry, actually, #1 writer of all, 1950s and 60s girl group songs. He goes, you got to figure out if you're the sad singer that happens to be funny, or the funny girl that just happens to sing sad songs, because I'm like always, what character am I? And you never know what character I'm going to be, because I am an emotional person, and I don't think I'm bipolar or anything. Things hit me in a different way. Sometimes I close my eyes when I sing, and that's why the sound is so good. Sometimes I open my eyes, and then you get more of an entertaining show, but sonically it's not very good, because then I see the faces and then I react to the crowd. It's a different story every time, but it's just practice, I guess. It's practice.
You don't strike me, you strike me as a very authentic human being, and you're saying the word character, which is interesting too. You're obviously affected by what you're seeing. You're affected by what the audience is doing and their reactions to it. I would assume there's an element of character when you're... What am I trying to say? This kind of just hit me when you said that. A good show, you're going to go through a lot of different emotions. Like, say it's a 90-minute show. There's so many emotions that you're taking people on a journey.
Yeah.
Do you find it difficult to just turn on that happy thing? Like, okay, now we're doing this happy thing. Now I'm going to this sad thing. Because it seems to me like where you're coming from, like it's coming from the very tips of your toes, and it's right in front. And if you sing this sad song, it's like you don't strike me as a person that just can shake that and just go, okay, now we're going into a happy song.
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with that?
That's a great question. I usually can. I sang Rocks in Your Shoes, and I was trying to, really try hard to get the country radio thing going for me. And the single was Rocks in Your Shoes, which is essentially, ironically, about when you're having a hard time, you got to learn to walk with rocks in your shoes. You got to learn how to deal with it and figure out how you can switch it into vodka and lemonade and figure out. And it's just so funny because I've always wanted to appear like I was happy. But I think that's such a weird way to live, because it's not just happiness is a word that everyone's trying to strive for. And a lot of people are having kids just for the Christmas picture. They're doing it so everyone can look at us, we have our life together. Yeah. But when really, like, after the picture's taken, you got to tell your kids to put their seatbelt on, stop, turn the radio down. It's just life. And if you just, so I feel like when I'm having to sing a happy song, I usually just go with it and try to, if I'm sad, I just get it. It's like washing the dishes. You just got to get them done, and then you kind of talk about it if you want. I usually try to talk to my audience. Not in a self.
Maybe the talking is that interlude to get you to that place.
Right, yeah. Right. You just you go with it because your audience isn't. I think we're all children when you go to a show in a world that we live in where you can just swipe right or tap and just pretend like you were there or hashtag that you were there. You have people that put their shoes on to go to a show. They're saying, I want to be moved. You let me into your life. I paid the $10. Tell me what you're going through so I don't feel so alone. I think that's exactly why people go to shows. And those are the people that I want to hear my song. I want them to know that there might be a little bit of a breakdown on stage. Yeah. You never know what you're going to get. And I do feel like there's a healthy, it's a separation. Obviously, when you need to do the work, you do the work. But it's a very emotional work, and that is why it's so draining to be an artist, because we find ourselves comparing how many people are at my show. Oh, I'm getting old. I can't do it anymore. Like, all these thoughts enter in my head, and no one's talking about it. And we're becoming babies is more like, don't you find that? Like,
I totally
is that like, I want to make my next step is making a children's show for adults.
Nice.
Because it's a lot of people are just we just want to win and be accepted.
Yeah.
It's not just because you're 18 doesn't mean you have your life figured out. I still figure out how to pay taxes. I have no idea how to write things off. You might want to edit that out.
I'm sure the IRS is not listening. They might be. I don't know. It is. I mean, it's interesting talking about. We started. We were talking about therapy, and we talked about. We were talking about before about just kind of like the process of. I mean, mental health seems to be a big talk that's happening right now, and our society has never been in such a place where everybody is trying to appear happy and trying to appear like they're. So when they have somebody like you standing in front of them that shows them something that they don't see in their everyday life, it's kind of like the example we used when we were talking about pop music in the last podcast was. You have your feel good, let's talk about sex stuff. And then you have a Taylor Swift who actually talks about breakups, talks about stuff. Now it's like on a level that can be eaten somewhat as candy, but it's something. At least it's something. At least she's talking about an emotion, It's like that Justin Bieber, the Love Yourself song. I love that damn song.
I love that
it's
song.
Beautiful.
It's incredible.
And but it's coming from somewhere, and it's an empowerment kind of thing too, but yeah, I think that I would say that we would definitely want to talk about the America's Got Talent thing that you did.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way that you connected with people and showed them that emotion, even though that damn magician beat you, but even though you had that thing where it was like, people don't feel that anymore. They don't feel the ups and the downs, and people need to realize, I think, in today's world that it's okay to feel that.
Yeah, it's okay.
I was listening to a podcast about a guy who had dealt deep depression, and he does two things in his life that he said really changed. He said when he wakes up in the morning and he takes a shower, he says 5 things that he's thankful for. Like, I'm thankful for my friend George, or like, I love my dog. Like just simple. Mm-hmm. I'm happy that I have a fresh bar of soap today. Yeah. Like just simple things. And he also in the places of things that get thrown at you, like I'm redoing like my flooring or whatever, or something, or I'm painting, and all of a sudden, yesterday as an example, my cat jumped up and got paint all over his paws and ran through my entire house. Oh, so you can kind of look at that and you can be like, God damn it. Yeah. Like you can cuss, you can let that affect you, or you can just be like, I can't control this. I'm just going to clean the house. It's an extra 20 minutes out of my day. Yeah. And embrace it and embrace the positivity in that.
Absolutely. I fully agree. I went through some really hard. I've been through some heartache this year, and it's not something to like go, well, I'm gonna write a song about it. It's just kind of like life stuff, like what is wrong and what is right, and how was I a part of this, and what did I do wrong? How can I get better at that? I'm not trying to be that's not my Sunday school answer, but it's like truly I'm like in the midst of, like the things that we water. If you're going to choose to water something that's just bad, you're going to plan a bad day in your backyard just for a couple weeks. You're going to water the bad, and you're not going to be grateful for it. So what are you going to water today? And like the fact that you're doing this podcast, to highlight the unhighlighted is just fantastic. I feel so honored to be here, and the fact that I had to, I got to put my shoes on to go talk about my life is just such a fun thing to do. And man, thank God I didn't cut my bangs last night on the sleeping pill that I took, from the heart, whatever. Yeah, it's all, nothing's a coincidence. And, it's a choice. We get to choose whether or not we are going to succumb to, the cat with the paint on their paws, or
could ruin your whole day.
Right. The friend that just, unfollows you on Instagram, because they got their feelings hurt with something. And it's just like, I'm not going to try to call that friend up and see why they don't want to follow me. I'm not going to control it. Yeah. It's just one of those things. You try to do the best with what you got and with the information given to you, and make choices based upon that. But being grateful is always the best drug you can do, just to be grateful. And have boundaries and go to a couple ACA meetings, you're fine.
Well, I like that you said, I like the seed thing. I mean, that's something that I've been thinking about too, and I was having this conversation the other day about that, where whatever happiness that comes in our life, it's almost as though it's a slow burn, you know, like in relation to success, in relation to having success. It's like every choice that you make in a day is a seed that you're planting for a possibility. And the two things that take away from me from that are that you're choosing to plant a positive seed, and the second thing is understand that it takes time for that seed to grow.
Right.
So if you know, it can be as simple as saying hi to somebody, or it can be as simple as, you know, reaching out to a friend and having a conversation about something creative. I mean, it can be anything that leads to something positive happening. And I think that we were just talking earlier about Jordan Peterson. I think he kind of preaches that a little bit. He's that kind of guy, you know, where there's like a movement going on right now in society that's going against all this negativity and all this yelling and screaming and divisiveness, where what if we just figure out and plant our own seeds and be the best person that we can be, because it starts with us.
Right.
You know.
And he talks a lot about, like, speaking of reading faces, so I'm looking at Tyler's face, and I'm like, do you know, you're from Canada, do you know a guy named Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
And your face just lit up.
Yeah.
Like a Christmas tree, and you were like, I love him. So Jordan Peterson, if you're listening to the podcast, go on a YouTube rabbit hole binge. I mean, he's just a wonderful philosopher and teacher, and the way he thinks is just kind of helping my life and understanding what to do with all this stuff that I've been given, you know, from the cosmos king of the universe. I have no idea what to do with it, but he's really kind of breaks it down, and oh, it's just so great. Did you see the one about the oppression one? Yeah, you're oppressed, you're oppressed, we're all oppressed.
No.
It's not too precious. He doesn't really take life too precious, but he taught me how to think as an individual instead of a group, because I feel like a lot of that in society, are you a Republican or a Democrat, or what do you believe? It's like you're an individual.
Yeah,
you know?
It starts with you.
It starts with you and what your choices are and what you've done, and that's just kind of really relieved me from having to think like my family or having to think like my friends, or, you know, liking something is like, am I liking this because I want them to like my record if it comes out, or do I really, have I listened to it? Do I know the story behind it? You know, with all these choices we have to make, it's just, we're all Woody Allen just trying to figure it out. You know?
Well, it's so funny because, I mean, I think there's lots of good and bad that comes with us all being connected now via a telephone. But since we're focusing on the good part of that to me is that we don't have to fit in anywhere.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like we can be like, it starts with us, and we don't have to choose left. We don't have to choose right. You know, we can go left here sometimes and go right here sometimes. I mean, we don't have to, you know, that's something that you're preaching, because it's like, that's something that I've always struggled with. Like, well, what am I? What am I going to be perceived as?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, I can do anything. It's like, and when you take that off of somebody, and then you're like, I've spent much of my life trying to be perfect and trying to make sure everybody is happy, because that's how I pay bills, you know, because I was a session musician, or I was playing live, and you can't walk into a session being unhappy, because you're never going to get called again. Right. And then you start to get to the point where you're like, well, you need an outlet for that, first of all, and then second of all, what if you just started making choices where you weren't following somebody, and you were allowed to, you were taking starting this podcast, it's like, it was a situation where I came up with this idea and I felt excited, and I was like, oh my God, but this person's going to think this, and this person's going to think this. And then it's ironically enough, when it came out and people started listening, I got so much positive, like, that's cool, you know, that's a great idea. And I'm like, well, wait a second, like, what else did I miss out on? You know? And I think that's what he preaches. It's like, just be you, be yourself, be the best version of you. Right. And that's I love the beginning of the book. What is it? 12 steps to
12 ways
between chaos and order.
The chaos and order.
Yeah.
12 ways to live.
12 steps. Look that up. That's the book, and it's beautiful. And I don't remember the title. I just know that it's chaos and order in there somewhere. But yeah, the book. So he talks about the crabs at the beginning.
Yes.
You know, where if a crab goes up against another crab and loses, he carries that with him for the rest of his life. He can never get that back.
Right.
And as humans, because we're cognitive beings, we have the ability to overcome a loss or overcome a failure, and see the positive in that and how beautiful that is. And he's like, you know, be the big dog crab even if you lose, you know.
I like the big dog crab more when they lose, and then they're coming out strong. You know, I love that.
Yeah,
you know?
it's how you look at it. I was talking with another friend yesterday, and he has a friend who's an artist, and she's a beautiful singer and beautiful person. She's a great writer, and when I say beautiful singer, I'm not talking about her looks. I'm talking about how beautiful she sings.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get that point across.
Yeah,
because that's the most
she's probably
important
beautiful
thing.
too. I mean,
Yeah.
you never know. I mean, she's probably, if she's speaking truth, she's probably very, very attractive, no matter what is happening.
I'm trying to get away from that because that doesn't matter. But she's struggling. Like she's been turned down and rejected so much, and it was a conversation of, well, that can go different ways. That can go into a cynical place, and then you can perpetuate that cynicism, or you can turn that into, well, that wasn't right for me. You know,
Right.
that wasn't my right situation. And I really, really believe that. I believe that the universe, if you just keep putting your nose down, that you'll get back what you may not know, but you'll get back. Like, it's interesting because your Blue Sky song, I was not in a situation where I was in those lyrics at the time. Something about those lyrics meant something to me in that time.
Wow.
But I didn't know until 5 or 6 years later that that's how I was feeling at that time.
Wow.
And
Was it like a repressed thing that you didn't know?
Totally. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so funny with that thought being out there. When we are raised by parents that might have wanted to do something but they didn't, they still did it. It's kind of like the repressed, like, I don't know if I'm going to say this right. It is the aggression that you feel if you're feeling something and you're not doing it. That other person, whether it's a child or a spouse, they still feel it, and it just hasn't come out yet. But if you release that, it's like it's fine. But that's why they say secrets keep you sick. And
Oh, I like that.
yeah,
Where did you hear that?
Well,
Did you come up with it yourself?
No, I wish I didn't. That was a Cumberland Heights quote.
Secrets keep you
Secrets
sick.
keep you sick. You got to release those secrets, because the more that they're withheld, you know, the more you're going to do them, and the more you're just going to live a lie, and then you're going to just be faking your whole life. And I think that's the reason why a lot of mental illness is out there, is because a lot of people don't. You're not going to. I think there's almost too much truth going on too. Like, I don't want to hear all about your bad day unless you're just a great writer, and like you can twist it around and make like it Ernest Hemingway-ish. But I mean, honestly, I think we all make a choice as to how we really truly want to eternally live our life. Like, and yes, days are going to suck, but you're going to plant those bad days, and that's a Tom Waits quote. You can plant your bad days for months, and then your months turn into years, and then all of a sudden you got a shitty life.
Yes.
You can't be too much of an artist all the time. You got to just go, okay, well, I got to take my dog on a walk, got to go be in the sun for a little bit, got to go cut my bangs a little bit more just because they're in my eyes. Just the little simple things we do to
Well, let's take
figure
that
out.
back to where this started, which is the song and the delivery of the song. And this is the thing that's really interesting. And one of the reasons when we first, before we came on, we were talking about how as creative people they deal with a lot of mental health stuff, because we're always in that like emotional state trying to harness that. It's like
Trying to create a song, yeah.
I know. And then you're up on stage in that emotional state, and then it's like, and not many people, I mean, most people at their job, they come home and they have their beautiful family, and they walk the dog, and in the way that we live our life is we're always trying to get to a place that's like we're exaggerating an emotion to try to achieve something.
Wow, yeah.
And I think that I mean, I'm still working on it, but I don't know where you're at with it, but pulling yourself out of that to a normal life, I mean, that's killed many, why are there so many people that are artists that die at 27? It's because that's when they have to figure out their life.
That's when the ripping starts happening.
That's when it starts.
That's when it starts. It feels like a ripping too. Like when I learned that, man, if I want a good life, I guess I can't be sad anymore. and looking through the dark side of things and being so judgmental on my boyfriend and, like, shoot, maybe I should try a different way of thinking. And that felt like a death to me because I truly needed to understand how to, like, live a life without always having to be too like manically happy, where it's like, oh, I'm having an epiphany, or I'm a little bit tipsy. Is this manic or is this a genius idea? Well, if you wake up the next day and it's a genius idea, maybe you should do it.
Exactly, yeah.
But like I literally have had to switch, and it's been really hard. Honestly, just I'm in my 30s right now, and it's been like, okay, well, I do want a kid. I do want to be a mom one day. And, I guess in order for this to happen, I should use my words and say, I don't think I want a kid just because I'm an egomaniac. I definitely want to take all the love that my mom gave to me and not switch it around like a weirdo, but just truly understand what a mother does to a kid. And, it's just so beautiful to really think about it. And yeah, like, I don't know what we were on. I'm sorry, I go on in different.
No, I mean, I think that it's amazing it's hearing you talk and hearing the way that you're talking about being on stage and how it is, the talking, the interludes to get you from one emotion to the next emotion is really fascinating. And because you go so deep into your being to project this emotion that you've created and manifested, it's almost like you've gone down this roller coaster and you get up and you're shaky and you're like, well, I need time to get to the next place. But that's what makes you great, and that's what makes great. That's who I'm as a listener. I'm attracted to people that can get to that place. But it takes a toll.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can hear it. I mean, I hear that it's taken a toll, and it's. I'm thankful because because you've touched me with this toll that you've taken, and you've touched millions of people, especially like when they get to see you on television. I mean, you have touched so many people with who you are and what you do, but it takes a piece of you. Every one of that takes a little piece of you, and it's nice because you get admiration, you get to do it again, and that's a cool thing too. But I understand that it takes that toll, and it's an interesting balance to try to think like okay, I got to go cut my lawn today. Like, what? No, I don't. No. But then you cut the lawn, and you're like, oh wow, that's like a tangible thing that I just did, and it looks good.
It looks great.
It's like, and then you write a song, and you're like, well, I can't hold it.
Right.
I can't see it.
Right.
I can go listen to it again, or I can now go produce it, or like. We just do these intangible things. Like, that's what our life is.
Well, what you said just touched on this one lyric. I thank you for saying that. That makes me feel so good, and I appreciate your words. There's a lyric. Okay, so I'm not really a big fan of the Christian music world, but Sarah Groves is one of my favorite lyricists.
She's great. Yeah.
She's so beautiful in her lyrics. I mean, I was raised in a Christian home, very religious, legalistic. I don't think my family's like that anymore, but I've done a lot of washing away of the cartoon Jesus, of just really what Jesus looks like and how I see him, and that it gives me peace, just the washing away of the cartoon coloring of whatever I thought was. Jesus was really hot, the way that they illustrated him in the 70s. I've apparently dated a lot of Jesuses.
That might be something you want to talk to your therapist
That's
about.
Probably something. No, I've already overdone
past
that.
Good.
I'm actually dating a Jewish man, so that is, I scored. But what I was saying was just the generations. She says something about generations, and it's the song. It's called Generations. Remind me of. You might need to edit this. Remind me of all decisions, because generations will reap what I sow. I can pass on the curse or a blessing to those I will never know. And when you are repeating the lines that I've written, like, oh my gosh, 15 years ago, it just goes to show what is eternal, and the truth usually sticks. It doesn't matter if it's, good news or happy news, but the fact that you were affected by this and the fact that we're, here today, I guess that goes to show you that if you cut your lawn or you make a song, whatever choice you do, it's probably going to affect someone if it's truthful and you pursue it and you water it. And even if it didn't get watered properly, to where it's like world domination, the fact that it did it for you and a lot of other people still message me about it makes me feel like I did something right. So I appreciate that,
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I'm sure it's touched many, many people. I think that that's the key. I mean, I've had many conversations with creative beings that are, it's like, why do you do it? What's the point? And I'm getting to the stage of my life where you're kind of like, who cares? I mean, even if there's somebody out there that's doing it to make $1 million, just admit to that. If you want to make a hit song, cool, peace. Like, I'm not judging you. There's no judging, But I think each one of us are still creative beings that want to be accepted on the other side, right, and touch people. We're not that narcissistic.
I don't think so.
We're actually incredibly insecure when that's not accepted on the other side. And the older we get, the less we care about it, but we still are very aware of it. And I mean, I think that's the difference, though. I think between whether it's a weed that you're growing or an apple tree is the fact that you were genuine about it. And I think that's the key, to making it tangible, making it as though you're cutting the lawn. Because if you made something that didn't really matter and people accepted it, because I spent 7-8 years writing music for ads, and I was incredibly successful. I wrote songs that were, on national television, and it was interesting. Because you're watching the TV, and I remember the first time it happened. I was about to turn on Jimmy Fallon, and I was waiting for Fallon to come on, and I didn't even know that this had landed, but my commercial pops up, and I hear myself singing, and I hear my song, and it was an immediate feeling of pride, and it was a feeling of excitement, but I was chasing something that wasn't me to get that, and I was like, that's cool. And then you know what happened? I shared that with my family. I shared that with people that were important to me, and it went away. And
Did you get the check though?
I got the check.
Okay, that's wonderful. So you shared it. So that you got the check. That's wonderful.
But then it became to a point where it's like, well, what am I chasing? Like, what is the point of this, right? And I think that, and I remember, and I'm nowhere as accomplished as you are, but I had a song that meant a lot to me, like the most important song I've ever done in my life. And it landed a spot in a TV show. It was on Degrassi on Netflix. And they played the whole song in its entirety in this emotional scene. That got me. That was and it paid probably a 40th of what the other one paid. But it was I watched it and I was like, wow. People are hearing this and they're associating it with something really cool on television. This is the feeling, And that's the juxtaposition of, I was genuine with this and it found a home, and I was chasing something here that was chasing money. It found a home, but that home was like a hotel, because I checked out. But this was something that established. And so I think it's okay to admit that,
Absolutely.
And I love that you say it's I love that it affected people, because you could sit there and say, yeah, I wrote that song for myself, and it's cool, it meant this to me. But you admitting that, it matters if somebody takes it on the other side and makes it important to them.
I think anything absolutely. I think if you're making something beautiful, whether it's through your pain, I'm probably going to love it. If you're creating a melody on top of the shitty words that you're saying that is actually called truth.
Yeah.
It's just, it's and then you sing it great. It's probably going to be great. It's like taking some great mozzarella and some warm tomatoes plucked from an Italian garden, and then olive oil, just warm olive oil, some basil, unwashed, and the oils you've got 4 ingredients. It's going to be great. I mean, I'm sure it's going to move mountains. Yeah, and I think that sometimes you can get too many cooks in the kitchen and not enough groceries. With a lot of production and these days, a lot of the whys. I'm trying to. I think I'm going to start giving some voice lessons. Yeah, just because I'm done with the way that people are singing. Yeah. I don't like these accents. These often, they're not authentic. What am I trying to say? Authentic. authenticity.
So you're saying that they're putting on a character.
It's a
with
character.
Their vocals. Yeah,
It's a watered down way of singing a YouTube song.
I
You
see
know,
what you're
watered
saying.
down
Mhm.
over watered down over watered down cover songs where it's like, okay, let's just tell me the story. One of the worst voice lessons I ever had was when I first moved to town, and it was with a guy named Gerald, and he's long gone now, but he was a very intimidating older man, and he had this beautiful house that was near the forest and the river, and I just remember going, this guy knows what he's talking about because he has a really cool house, and you know, he's in his recliner with his legs crossed, and he's telling me to sing a song. Well, I didn't know what song I was going to sing, so he took me over to the piano, and he wanted me to point to middle C, which, by the way, I don't know theory. I don't know anything about about playing an instrument.
Well,
you play.
That's a surprise because I mean you have your ear is incredible to pick stuff up.
It's dyslexia. It's the sound, the sonic, the sensory disorder that I have that makes me probably. But I don't know that, and so he just kept me, and I kept getting this. I know where it is now. I know where middle C is now. But he wanted me to sing a song that I picked out, which was "Look at this stuff, isn't it neat?" Wouldn't you think my, complexion, or is it?
I don't know.
It's the Little Mermaid song.
Oh.
And so,
Nice.
so
I should know that because I love that movie.
But this is the saddest voice lessons I have ever had. But I went on a walk and I was thinking about it because I was like, maybe I could give voice lessons, but I don't know where middle C's at, and how am I going to do theory? But I'm like, wait a minute, it's all psychological because I actually really do love Gerald. I think Gerald probably is the reason why I sing so well is because he told me not to sing it, he told me to say it. Because I was singing, look at this stuff, this very vaudeville. And he was like, no, just stop. Tell me look at this. No. So he cut me off. No, look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Okay, well, that's great. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? And then I understood what I was saying. I think a lot of people, they don't know what they're singing these days. That's why I want to give voice lessons.
So you're saying obviously you said that they're acting and whatever, but are they they're detached from the words?
They're detached. Yeah, because they're
Which is the complete opposite of what you are. Those words are like, they're plastered to your forehead. Like, it's like, you cannot, the way that you deliver them it's ridiculous. It's the best I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh my
gosh. I would never say that if I didn't mean it. The way that you deliver them is incredible. So you're feeling like, are you thinking that the words don't matter, like they're to some of these singers?
Yeah, because the way that they're, these accents that they're developing over with just society and them looking at the internet. There's just, I don't even know what song, like a cover of an Alanis Morissette song. I want you now. It's just that kind of way. I don't know if it's just me, but I just need them to read me your diary entry. I think that's how I'm going to start off my voice lessons. Just bring a diary entry.
Let's sing your diary
and
entry.
just let's just say your diary entry to me, and then we're gonna figure out a way to not make you sing like all these other people are supposed to sing. Like, listen to Judy Garland, Barbra Streisand, and Patsy Cline, and then report back to me. That's just my own, anger with, how to become a really, great truth teller and, how to perform right. Because I'm not getting it these days. I don't think I would put my shoes on to go see anyone except for Adele,
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
I would, and Sting, and Peter Gabriel, and, who else would I... Obviously, I can't believe Tom Petty is gone. Jeez, I was going to say him, but anyway, sorry to rant.
Well, I think that it's interesting because what's happened, going back to the social media, you see those Instagram posts of like how to pose so that you look good or whatever, the different ways you should have your head. That translates also into the music thing where it sounds like you grew up singing and all that kind of stuff, and at a young age, you're up on stage, probably at a state fair or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And you're incredibly insecure at that age. And one of the it was a saying that he told me about. But these people that are getting famous on YouTube, you can watch them. You can watch them sing these songs. Like, say it's like a 15-year-old girl in her bedroom singing a Taylor Swift song, playing guitar. and they're getting all this viral stuff, and it's great, and you're watching her sing it, and you can actually see in her eyes, looking at the camera, probably thinking about how she's being perceived, because she's 15. So you have, all of a sudden, you have these stars that are coming out when they're not even, I mean, you moved to Nashville when you're 18. Like, I can't even imagine, like, and that was young. But now they're creating these stars at these ages where they're incredibly insecure and they're trying to be these things. So social media is definitely affecting that music side of it. But then you're also getting, I mean, it's we're focusing on the negative because there's beautiful things about it.
Oh, hey, I'm all about the negative because there's beauty that comes from negativity.
Oh,
I'll tell you that right now. We're gonna become positive after we get done ranting. Hold on, just really quick. It's all gonna work out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting that you say that there's a disconnect.
Well, I mean, and here's the reason why it makes me angry. And honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with being angry. I think that is a wonderful. I think anger is a beautiful thing. It's a great mulch for the flowers. You need a little bit of stinky mulch in order for the roses to be beautiful. And I do think that I've been fighting my anger for a really long time. But I went into a few of these Al-Anon meetings and ACA meetings, and I just got so angry, and I spoke, and someone said, "I love that you're angry. That's gonna help. That's gonna help everyone. The fact that you're angry." And the reason why I'm angry is because, you know, when you look and you compare yourself to these women that are just trying so hard to be beautiful by taking their clothes off, and, you know, shock value.
Men too.
Men too, and you know, yeah, like men too. And it's like, what is the point of this? Is this like a wound within you that just you need to do this, or do you really have you been working hard on your body? Is this like maybe something that, well, that's cool, but then like I just need to know because I have a truth too that I want to share, and I just want to know why we're doing it and why we're affecting these. We're showing our bodies to these young minds. And it's just my own process where I'm just going, why are we doing this? And
I think there's you can be genuine in all of that. Just like you said, like, I mean, I have friends that have lost lots of weight and want to share that process because they want to touch other people and help them be healthier.
Right.
And they're not up there showing six packs or whatever, but they're talking about that process, and they may show before and after pictures.
I think that's great.
And it's genuine.
That's genuine.
Yeah, totally.
But just to, you know, like pose like an accidental pose and go, every time I drink coffee, I wonder, you know, just kind of making it a drama, which is kind of how my brain works. You know, I'm always like, well, this is a cool photo. Maybe I could write a diary entry, you know, to affect someone. But I'm only doing it just because it's just kind of fun to read someone's breakdown.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all about a great breakdown, whatever, you know. I just sometimes have a hard time when it's done to be hurtful or like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an element of you know, you want to change the world one singer at a time. I think that's beautiful. I think that's great. But I think, you know, we have just to play devil's advocate to that, I mean, we have a pie. We have this big apple pie, and we choose up how we want to slice it. But once the pie runs out, it's gone. And you start every day with an apple pie, and it's like, well, where do you want to put that energy? You know?
Right.
And if that's how you want to put your energy, and that's your choice, I think that's beautiful. You know, and it's just, I think there are certain battles, like we talked about earlier, to say your words early, like, should I care if that person unfollowed me on Instagram?
Right.
Probably not.
No,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But what does matter is when you have like your intelligent friends that have, you know, I respect highly, you know, asking me for advice about if they should release this song that's going to probably change the world. I'm like, why are you even asking me this question? Because of what this young person is doing and what is famous now. Like, this is going to change the world. That's why I'm angry. I think, so, you know, when we talked about the flowers blooming and all this anger, the reason why I'm angry is because it's confusing the whys.
I see.
So that's why I get angry, is because you're all these irrelevant, you know, beautiful young, you know, posts from people that just are just kind of figuring out how to live when I know how to live. And your post is making me question everything that I really want to, you know, go up against or, you know, just say. You're making, and I think that's why I get upset, is because they're confusing the found.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
The lost are confusing the found, and wow, that's
I mean, there's social media definitely has a boot on top of certain people's creativity and energy for sure. It's like they're holding people down, right?
Yeah.
Thumbs sitting on it, like stop caring,
Uh-huh.
and just like that. I love that book. Have you read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck yet? By
I
Mark
actually
Manson?
have the book on tape, and
Yeah,
I
okay.
really think it's a wonderful, wonderful book.
Yeah.
It is. It's like when you announce that you're leaving the party, you're the most popular girl at the party. When you say you're going to leave early,
Yeah.
and there's a time and a place for, to value an opinion. But man, gosh, it's freedom when you let go, isn't it?
It's pretty incredible. It goes back to what we all deal with. I mean, especially getting into like the therapy situation. And I read that book before I started going to therapy. But you get into these feedback loops, and that's what depression basically is. Is you just get into, as far as I understand it, you get into these feedback loops of I'm not good enough, I suck, whatever the feedback loop is, and then you drive it further and further in until you can't escape it. And he talks about that in the book, where he calls it the sad panda loop, where you just like everything, you see the negative in everything. Like as an example, like the cat running with the paint. It's like that would put you into a feedback loop of what else could possibly go wrong.
Right.
And I think breaking out of that is good, but you can get into these feedback loops of, and I've been in them too, as a creative person, about, to me, it's how I'm going to be perceived. Is this perfect enough? And I feel you on that. It's like I would be like, I don't know if this is like this person's doing this, so I can't put this out. And I totally get that. And I think social media perpetuates that loop. It just it adds. If there's a hamster wheel, it's like pushing it for you. You're running the hamster wheel, and it's helping you go faster because you're seeing all these other people to the point of you just think, I'm not going to fit in anywhere, which is hilarious because there's always a place for you, because this beautiful social media is beautiful because there's always a place for you to be heard, and people can choose whether they want to hear you or not. There's no record label coming to you and being like, well, you're not good. Some asshole that's got a record company comes to you and goes, you're not good enough, Emily. I'm not going to put your record out, and shelves it. But you have power now. You can put it out and be like, here's what it is.
Right.
And so many artists that I've talked to are just in those loops of, they'll send me like pictures and be like, hey, I'm thinking about these 5 photos for my record. Which one do you think is the best one? I'm like, which one do you think is the best one?
Yeah.
What if I crop it like this? Who cares?
No one cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
As long as you're okay with it. And if you care that they care and you're not okay with it, then that's the problem.
Right.
So if you need me to validate that and say, I think this is the right choice, I'm willing to do that, whatever my opinion means, but I'm willing to do that so that you feel good about getting all these other opinions, and then you're like, okay, well, everybody thinks this is the right one. And I understand there's part of that of branding, and
But it's a very codependent way.
Exactly.
It's co-writing, codependent. Do you like this line better? And then you're just second guessing all the time because you get too many cooks in the
There's the
kitchen
loop, and we're
with hardly any
spinning like
groceries,
hamsters.
and you just don't know who you are the next. And that's the thing with like record labels and everyone's
You've dealt with that a little bit,
I've dealt
right?
with it my whole life. Oh my God, 9 years on Capitol Records. Just like, is she, and that's why I probably get anxious to go out in public, is because I'm like, gosh, I don't know if I'm wearing the right shoes.
Yeah.
Who's going to
That's been driven into you,
Yeah, it's been driven in, and
Yeah.
it's just and I've really, really completely thanked the Lord that is no longer an issue. And if I have something in my teeth, let's party. Let's just keep it there. I don't care almost to a self-sabotaging level, which I've also, I just think it's comedy. It's comedy that people would get in a room and talk about all the things that could change about the soul of someone. And,
Wow, that's beautiful.
it's just, wow, how are you making money off of this soul? Are you kidding me?
How can
Come
we dress this
on.
soul up? Yeah.
Right. How can you dress it up to make it not hurt anymore, or maybe crush it down so you're not supposed to talk about real life? Honestly, it was a really sad time when I was. I don't know if this should be wrapping up, but I'm going. It was a sad time when I was trying to be great. I was kind of suffering from a lot of things that I, couldn't talk about in having a record label. But you know what? It was the process, and nothing is a mistake. And I think I'm probably going to be one of those old people that really get famous, from just not giving a crap, but just being Elaine Stritch or something.
It takes. I will say this. I am envious of people that the people that don't give a crap probably give the most craps. But
Yeah.
I have been envious my entire life of people that put off the perception that they just don't care. I just wish, I wish for many years, especially as, in the creative field, it's like, man, I just wish that you lose years caring.
Yeah.
You get into a caring loop, I guess you call it, and you see these people that just, like, I don't know whether it's born into them or they're able to shut that part of their brain down, but the ones that just go after it and just don't care, and I don't know if it's even a belief in themselves. I mean, I remember when I was 19 and I made a trio jazz record with my two really good friends. I didn't care. I was 19. I was like, I got this. And everyone was like, what are you doing? You don't know who you are as a musician. And I'm like, I don't care. Let's just do this. I'm like, and now I'm in my 30s and I'm like, care way too much. I spent my 20s caring way too much because you lose that. I think it starts, you're naive to start, and you're just like, well, what does it matter? I can, whatever. And then you start caring. And then the older you get, if you don't get rid of that, you're just losing that time.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you had other people caring too much for 9 years at the label too.
Right.
But it's interesting to watch people that have that. And I don't know what's in them. I mean, is it a DNA thing? Is it the way they were raised? Like, what do you think?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I think it can come in seasons. I think that, I mean, the person that I'm dating right now cares deeply to the point where it is a great way to care.
Yeah.
He has eternally made choices to just have a better life. And there's sometimes where he can almost get to the point where his playing, he's a drummer. He's technically just an incredible musician, and he went to school for it, but he didn't really know how to learn. He was self-taught, and so we kind of have the same brain in a lot of areas, but because we don't know if we're doing it wrong, because we feel it more than we than we know it's right. So we're kind of going, well, I don't know, do you like it?
Yeah.
But then I like him more when he just cares less, because he comes from such a caring place. And I think that that's good. I do think that there's some people that just don't care, and they just want to go to the top, and they will ruin themselves or other people, and their character will be flawed, and then they'll just have to deal with that for years. I don't understand people like that. I know that I've made some choices that, obviously I was just trying to I didn't know any better, so I just had the choice with what I knew. But eternally, like, I'm probably never going to just want to screw you over because that's my intention.
Yeah.
It's just it's a weird business, and you got to protect your heart, because you bring your journal entry into these co-writes with these, co-writers that are going to probably switch the way you feel. Or switch the minor into a major and then change everything about how you thought it. And so I do think that when you move to town, or you're in town, I think that there's a freedom. I'm going, look, I'm going to do it the way that I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That there's a wonderful, joyful, working with Leroy Powell and Tim Jones. I mean, I was the girl that carried a CD in her purse, opening for Jay Leno to do my one-woman show, to just have a CD, because you save some money when you don't have to pay your musicians. But now that I'm with a band, it's just such an incredible to get to be in a group and collaborate with people that are just full of joy, that do it for the joy. That's usually what I want to do. Like, I want to just be around people that don't care, that do it for the joy.
Yeah.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so tell me about that, Whiskey Wolves of the West. So how did that project come about?
That project came about when I've known Leroy for a long time.
By the way, those two guys are the best.
Oh, they're my brothers. I love their family. I love their wives. I love their kids. I love knowing that they have kids, because it makes me want to really, really work hard so we can put them in college.
Yeah.
And not just be great, But there's just something about making music with people that just believe in you, and to be around people that are just humans that believe in you. I don't think anything can go wrong.
I think that you've been around a lot of people that believe in you. I think it's it's hard. It's difficult sometimes for musicians to accept help.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
How does that come about? Like, is it the personality of the other person that allows you to? Yeah.
I think I'm a big fan of some crappy gigs to really breathe in a crappy gig. You know,
yeah.
like I did a residency for a while. Well, not for a while. It was for about a month. But I had a breakdown in the bathroom because I had the TVs on, the shakers. I was on top of the bar, and the shakers were, while I'm singing, I hate you, I love you again. And it just, it became very Annie Hall when she's singing, and no one's paying attention. And I just started going, okay, God, like, what? They're not even listening. And, I pictured this, experience that everyone was me listening, but, sometimes they're not. And I got really sad and mad, and then I just became funny. It just became a funny thing. I'm like, okay, if these people aren't going to shut the TVs off, I'm going to make it funny. And I'm just going to keep singing my sad songs and be the middle-aged girl on top of a bar singing. And the faces, how I pay attention to faces. Gary Burr actually came to one of my shows with his wife, Georgia, for their anniversary.
Nice.
And they was just, because it's Music City, and they want everyone to be quiet. So they're just looking at me like, oh gosh, oh no,
Yeah.
oh well, maybe she could go to New York, Broadway, maybe that's still an option. She's so good. Oh, but no one's listening. I just thought that was so funny. I think that is, if you can take something and make it beautiful, like your cat with the paint,
Yeah.
just make it pretty, because you can't fight it. You can't tell anyone to listen to you. You're gonna have a breakdown.
Yeah.
Everyone's eating their steak. Everyone's watching the news. They're just having a conversation. No one's there for you, to be honest. You just have to create beauty. Are you adding to the beauty, or are you taking away from the steak experience? So
And you'd be surprised how many of them are actually listening.
absolutely. And I'm not going to become a beast or a monster because someone else decides to not shut the TV off. But it is a what were we talking about how did that come about, the Wolves?
Yeah, the record or the band.
Well, we had 3 days in Bill Reynolds' studio, Jay Joyce's
I love Bill.
old
He's
studio.
great, too.
He is fantastic, and a wonderful photographer he is too.
Oh, I didn't know
He's
that.
an incredible photographer. But
He didn't produce. Leroy produced the record.
Leroy
right?
produced the record.
Was Bill involved as far as that's concerned?
Bill was the engineer, and he has an incredible ear on him. And it was just, we took 2 days.
That's a perfect studio for you guys
It's-
too. With that book wall that he has, I love that
It
spot.
was
Yeah.
incredible, and I didn't even think. When you're doing magic, you don't really know you're a part of it. You just start existing in it, and it just was so beautiful. And that's our record. And the
It
mix,
is awesome.
you played
I barely added anything to that. When he brought that over and I hit play, how much of a fan I've been of yours for many years. I heard that and I was like, oh wow, you have mixed all this with all of this, and it's the perfect combination for you. I'm so excited for you guys.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be a part of it. It's my journal entries, and Skeeter Davis meets soul, meets country, Patsy Cline jazz.
So
I don't
good.
know what we're doing. We're just having a good time.
And it comes across. I mean, so 3 days, you did all the tracking in 3 days?
We did all the tracking in 3 days. The vocals were done, while the band was playing. So
Wow.
we did it to tape. It's like the real deal.
That's awesome.
And so I don't know what we're going to do with it. We just sang at the Opry. This was last night. No, two nights ago. And Bill Cody was so sweet. He said, so tell me what's going on. I go, well, I don't know. We don't have the money yet, but if anyone does, we're going to release it. And it's on the Opry stage. It was so great. I put
That's
it on my
awesome.
Instagram story. It was funny. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I remember when we did the show, that was at the City Winery, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And you debuted, you did all your stuff. And then I think you debuted one of the tracks, and people reacted to it exactly as they reacted to any of your other big things. I was really thrilled.
Oh.
I thought it was awesome.
Thank you.
So the record's done, mixed, finished.
I think we're going to probably going to add a few covers on it, just because
Oh, cool.
we do These Eyes and I Only Have Eyes for You, and you just in our live show. But yeah, we're going to probably go back in and do a few more, because it's
Okay.
only about 7 songs so far. it just makes it just takes you to a place where you're in Henry Mancini land, Patsy Cline land, and it's just something that won't go on the radio but it'll go somewhere.
Yeah.
It'll go on top of a Christmas tree, who knows, or
Yeah.
in the sky, or on the Ethernet. I have no idea.
The
It's
Ethernet.
The Ethernet is somewhere. It'll go somewhere. I don't know where it's gonna go, but we'll figure it out.
Now, had those guys had the band before?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Well,
I know they're playing at the Sutler a lot, right?
Tim and Leroy play every night, every Saturday night at the Sutler,
Yeah, cool.
from 8 to midnight, and it's a wonderful show. It's just they're like the Swiss Army knife of town. If you need to hear some music, you're in town. I would suggest going to the Sutler, and they were solo artists to begin with. We were all kind of our own monsters. We kind of thought for ourselves in the world of corporate behavior, and they tried to market us up, and it didn't happen. We burnt down to the ground, and we became a phoenix. And then we found each other, and then we made this record. So we're just figuring it out. It's bizarre and magical, and I don't know what else to say about it. But
I think it's interesting that you brought up, earlier about doing this, the bar gig or whatever. It's so funny. I mean, when you look at one of the greatest bands of all time, the Beatles, you look at how they started. I mean, they played 8 hours at bars, and that's seasoning. Like, you just can't. I mean, you just have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting, like you said, that the corporation didn't like all three of you, so you've come together. But all of your combinations of your experiences and everything, Do you believe in timing? Like, what do you believe in?
Oh.
Like, what's your universe?
Absolutely, I believe in timing. I believe that nothing is a coincidence.
Okay.
And I believe that I moved here at 18 for a reason, because I didn't know what fear was. I did not know. And, honestly, I'm going to say something, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what Jordan Peterson has taught me. Like, I don't know if what I'm saying is just a bunch of fluff, but I will say that females in country music, the whole tomato thing that they have going on, I never knew my voice was taken away. I never knew that was even an option. I've always just spoke my mind. I mean, I knew what not to say, but usually I say it because it's on my face and and everyone's thinking it, and I'm like just going to say it. But I've never really realized that my voice was taken away. I think that is a matter of being an individual, which I'm so thankful for. And timing is everything, and the humans around you, and the intent is very, very big. And your why. My why when I moved here was just to make a lot of money and become famous. What is that?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, let me digest that for a second.
Yeah.
Let me dissect that. So you say timing is everything, but intent is important.
It's very
lead to
important.
timing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Your intention behind all the power that, if you get signed, if someone wants to sign you to their record label and basically pour $1 million in you, into your art, it's a lot of pressure at a very young age when you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And I feel like I almost tried to think like an older person and tried to find all this sadness because I knew country music told the truth. So therefore, let's figure out what's going on in my land and just write all this, sad stuff, which I love sad music so much. I love, bad things telling me something bad in a beautiful way. I love that. But I don't know, I stopped doing that because I like looking at the joy of it. My whole point is, I think that timing is everything. And what you do with your blessings, are everything. Just the choice to stop being your own worst enemy is a big deal. And to improving the world that we live in and to understand why we're here. Well, I mean, my friend Tyler has a podcast. You invited me. I'm honored to be here. I'm going to put my shoes on and go. I was a little bit late. I'm sorry about that. But right now, honestly, just what am I going to do with my day? I'm going to choose the joy and being grateful instead of looking at all the catastrophes around me, because Lord knows we have them.
Well, that goes back to the Jordan Peterson idea of, absolutely. I mean, it starts with us, because what is within your control, and I think it's never been more important than it is now.
Right.
How often, how much have you looked back on your career and regretted anything? Does regrets ever come into your life? Thinking about, like...
I have to think about that. I think that I've allowed, yes, I have a regret about being so scared of being dropped because I didn't have an education and I was just very terrified of how the world works. So I've allowed people to tell me my own story for me.
Yeah.
And I think with time and me educating myself and the traumas in my life and why I've done them, I think, again, timing is everything, but I do think that I've stopped allowing people to tell my own story for me and project their own stuff, because it's usually not true. I mean, and then you just get a bunch of drama, and it's like, no, it's not true. I don't really think that way.
To me, I mean, I think that shaped maybe the authenticity that's in your. Did you find? I'm just guessing, but was music the place that you could escape to not be somebody else?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in fact, you know.
Do you think that led to that, or do you think that was in you all along?
I think that, I think being just an ear person, like my mom when she was. I mean, I still remember being potty trained by my mom and how my mom was like, listen to the pretty music. I mean, everything was in color. I remember my mom's toes in the pool splashing. I remember my mom just being like a little kid herself. And so I'm just like, wow, you know, Mr. Rogers, his quiet, you know, the quietness that he invoked with his TV show kind of calmed me down a little bit. And music was a big part of that because I didn't really know how to, you know, be a student, but I knew how to sing. So that was a little bit of a mask.
Yeah, yeah.
It was my protection, which was a lot of responsibility because then I started getting all these adult gigs, you know, with these old people wanting me to sing at their car washes, and then they would come to me with their problems.
Expectations too,
like she doesn't know how to read, so why are you, you know, wanting her autograph? But no, I do now. I know how to read now. I know how to sign my name in cursive and everything.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting that I mean, that goes back to any type of musician that's got a gig. It's like you're expected to do a certain job, you know. And there's an irony in the fact that you're so honest and open in your lyrics. Do you feel when you have a song that matters to you, like you can pinpoint it to a moment? I mean, would you say that your songwriting is that way? You're writing a song and it's pinpointed to a particular emotion or a time in your life?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Can you achieve that feeling with covers too, or do you feel like it has to be something that you've written?
More so something that I've written.
Okay.
Like, I can hear, like, you could go ahead and play a chord. I heard an Elvis Costello chord, and it was this weird, wacky situation where it took you to Africa and then all the way to England. It was like this weird, bizarre chord. And I started thinking of a whole song on top of that chord of, like, the sentence was, "Why do lovers leave?" I don't even know what song it was, but it was like, ah, like that. I don't know what chord what is that? Ah, what is that? It's a weird chord. It was an Elvis Costello chord. So, and that was a journal entry from some guy that did me really wrong. On the way over here, I didn't know whether I was filling my car up with diesel fuel or the other fuel. I had to call my friend Sam to see. So, you know, because it's in the green. Yeah. The green thing.
But your head is up. But you're so focused. Like you have a thing where you can get to. That's so amazing that you can get to a certain thing.
I have a weird brain.
It's a beautiful brain. It creates beautiful music.
It's a weird thing.
So it takes you to a moment. Now, when you're accessing that moment on stage, are you feeling like it's are you going back to that moment always?
No.
Like when you sing that song, do you always go back to that moment, or do you put it into current context?
I think I can become a character with that song. I think it's like an actress. I can become an actress, but it's pretty. The words are so literal, like to the point where they're really funny, that it's.
So your delivery has changed over the years.
Yeah. My friend who's making a comedy Christmas record, like really changing everything. about the lyrics of the. He goes, I just don't know how to be with my voice. I go, well, it's pretty literal. You don't need to have a voice. Don't become a
just need to say
character.
it,
Just
like you
say
said,
it,
yeah.
because you're making a huge statement. Just say it, and it's more funny if you don't have a voice. But I do think that it's a mix between a character and authenticness.
When you say saying now, as any musician is trying to find their own voice on their instrument, is that what you're saying? Like when you're going to teach these vocal lessons,
Mm-hmm.
so you're saying say this first. Where does that exist? Does that exist as a singer in your head? Does it exist in your throat? Does it are there certain elements of technique that you would have to learn to be able to say something, like be yourself?
I think that it's more so about a head thing.
Okay.
You got to know your why first, because if you don't know why you're going to the party,
I love that, the intent.
the intent,
cool.
what's your intention behind going to the party? Like, why are you going to the party? Why are you going to put your shoes on? What, you're going to wear heels? Cool. You're going to wear heels for why? To be taller because you like a guy there that's a little bit taller than you, so you want to appear thinner and taller. You want your legs to look good because you want to wear shorts. So you're going to the party to wear heels. So your intention is to see a guy. Or you're going to the party just to show up for a friend, so you're going to wear flats just to be comfortable because you're just you had a bad day. What is your intent of singing this song? Is it because you want to prove someone wrong online, or like, what is it? You got to go to your why. Why are you here? I think that has a lot to do with it. That's what I think.
That's beautiful. I love that. What's your intent behind it? So an intent leads to a timing, leads to a universe showing you itself.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So the record is coming out when you guys finish it.
When we find the money.
So you need people to give you money.
And I really don't want to beg for money, but I might have a rich uncle that might invest. Who knows? You never know. Just always be nice to your rich uncles.
Yeah.
No, it'll all work out. I'm not worried about it. I'm gonna make music until I die, and whether that's poor or not.
Yeah.
So.
EmilyWestMusic.com.
I think so. Emily West Official.
Oh, official. Emily West Official.
EmilyWestOfficial.com.
And Instagram, you're Emily West.
At Emily West Official.
Official, okay.
I think so. I believe. I don't know if the official comes first or at official.
And they can hear the YouTube. I know there's YouTube videos of some of the current records.
Yes,
right?
and I am actually lip singing. I am saxophone.
You did a very good
singing
job too.
To Tyler's incredible playing of the saxophone. Sax religious. I was a little bit sax religious.
Whose saxophone was that? I was looking.
That
at
was Leroy's, and
Was
he
it?
actually did. I play it right on the video? Like,
It looked great, yeah.
Okay, good,
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
was like, when you do that, it's like you're really playing it.
Yeah, somebody had you posted it, and I didn't expect it, and I saw that. I thought that was fabulous. It was great. I love it. I love the energy. I love. Like I said, we brought it over here and we did this stuff at the studio here, and he hit play, and I was just like, God. It made sense. And then when I was at the rehearsal, it made more sense. And then when we played that new song, debuted it live.
Yeah.
What's the one with the big build up and the grand ending?
I'll change.
Oh my God.
That's about changing
Jeez.
who you are to be loved in the world we live in.
That's-
I was in the bathtub when that melody. I was like, I'm best from very Ethel Merman.
It's good. It's cathartic to get that out.
It
though,
is cathartic, and I bring it into my wolves, and they make it make sense.
Isn't it nice to have
It's the
have
best.
that?
It's the best.
Like just seeing that video of like you're not there by yourself. Like you've got these people that believe in you and support you.
It's just the best. Elaine Stritch is one of my heroes. I love her so much, and she was.
Who is that? I don't know who that is.
She was really big on Broadway,
Oh, okay.
and she was Jack's mother on 30 Rock.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So she's that really bougie older woman that just doesn't deal with. She's could give a crap. Anyway, but she was winning for an Emmy for her one-woman show at Liberty with Elaine Stritch, and she got up there and she goes, I don't know what would have happened to me if all of this didn't get to come out. I try not to drink, but shit. And she's just so great. She's like, I had all these characters inside of me, and I just couldn't wait to get them out. So thank you. And the speech is incredible. But yeah, I love her.
Isn't it
I
funny
wanna be
that's
her.
all we want to do
Mhm.
as beings is just get it out?
Right, just get it out.
Yeah.
So
And we have two beautiful people to share it with now, and I'm really excited about that.
Absolutely.
So pumped.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Watch this heavy heart of mine turn this water into wine. Light your match and let it glow, so I know my way home. One more game of tic-tac-toe. You be X and I'll be you. Fall in love like dominoes, then I'll come back home. If I can't find you, go get lost in the simple things. Might I remind you, chase your tail and dream those dreams. One more glass to set me free. Forget right past what's in front of me. I'll be fine, they tell me so, 'cause I know my way